January 2nd, 2017. This is going to be in regards to, well, eventually it's going to be in regards to the gay marriage debate. However, this actually has to do with the Obamacare decision that was made in Texas just recently. It was a Western District of Texas, which is in Wichita Falls. The plaintiffs was Sylvia Burnell with the Department of Health and Human Services, and the opponents were the Franciscan Alliance Incorporated, the Specialty Physicians, and the Christian Medical and Dental Association, with 4 states: Texas, Wisconsin, Nebraska, and Kentucky. The judge was Reed O'Connor, and he sided with the states, and basically his point was that it violated the Administration's Procedure Act. Katie Hill with the White House, she's a spokesman, said today's decision is a setback, but hopefully a temporary one. Regardless of sex, gender, or sex discrimination, they should have access to health care. Now, first of all, nobody's denying them access to health care. This is a medically, this is a cosmetic surgery. It has nothing to do with your health. And the idea that the federal government should somehow ask taxpayers to subsidize this is crazy. Okay, now, I want to point out, this is one of the reasons why I have such a problem with calling gay marriage gay marriage. Government cannot discriminate, okay? So there has to be a way to recognize who relationships between two guys and two girls, whatever. However, the problem is, in a decade or so, you will see people coming out and they're going to be attacking, well, actually it's already happening, attacking private businesses, trying to force them to do things that have absolutely, the government has no right to do. Okay? And that is a problem for me, because while the government does have to treat everybody the same, individuals have a right to make their own decisions. So the ideal that that they can be punished in court for saying no to whatever is wrong. Just as wrong as it would be if they were to try to force you into going to a shock therapy or whatever they decide would be the right thing to do for you. It's wrong on both sides. It's just as wrong today as it was yesterday, and 10 years ago, a decade ago, a year, 100 years ago. It's just as wrong. So, this right here proves my point. The Constitution, by basically nobody in 2008 or 2009 agreed or even imagined that by voting for this Obamacare ACM would ever be considered as a backdoor to allow for taxes to be used for gender reassignment. I doubt even if Democrats were thinking this when they actually voted this through. So it's clear that someone has decided to creatively read the law. And we've been doing this for a long time. It's not something new. It's been happening with the Supreme Court quite a bit. We allowed it once with Brown versus the Board of Education, and it made sense then. 100%, I totally agree. I see why it needed to be done. No doubt whatsoever in my mind it was reasonable, even if it was not constitutional. However, it is not, that back door allowed for government to make the argument that decisions such as abortion and what bathroom you go to or gay marriage, it's allowed a back door to where instead of going to the people and asking them for a right to for the government to regulate this right, they are instead just taking it by passing laws and going to the Supreme Court and hoping that 5 judges will agree with them that even if it's not actually in the Constitution, it should be in the Constitution, which was never intended. That is why we are becoming a 50-50 nation. And this is exactly what I've been arguing all along. And it just happens to be the Obamacare that's just happening to prove my point. So I hope that other people will see my point and understand, I am gay. I have no problem with saying it. I am not a self-hating person. All I ask is that you don't force other people to rub their noses in it. Okay? That's all that you're doing when you do these things. It is not up to them to agree. They do not need to validate your belief in who you are. And, you're not being denied the right to be married. You can go out today and say husband and wife or whatever. And, that's just as real to you as it is to anybody else. What you're wanting is government recognition. That I have no problem with. It is only that it doesn't stop there. It didn't stop with the integration issue, because after that we started boycotting private golf courses, other clubs and things of that nature. We did the same thing with women. We forced them to end up by using what we originally thought of as just dealing with the government itself has now been turned around and was used against individual private organizations who funded it themselves. It was not getting any money from the federal government whatsoever. I do not want to see a court. I do not want to see a church, a synagogue, or an Islamic shrine being forced to give wedding services to anybody. They have the right to decide if they think it is a relationship that is long-term and will last forever. You want anything else than that, you need to go to the government and have them recognize it, but you do not have the right to force individuals or the church to do anything. And that is why I will not ever be for the ideal of using gay marriage, because marriage itself has always been handled by the churches, the synagogues, and the mosques. So I do not have a problem with the government calling people married and just going to calling everybody civil unions. That I have no problem with. The government must recognize everybody equally, but that does not include taking away the rights of other peoples and forcing them to think and conform to your belief system. Thank you. Goodbye.